Stenhouse. He broke a 199 race losing streak.
Wow.
Hadn't won since 2015.
He's the one retiring, isn't he?
No.
Uh-oh. I know, I told my parents, I'm like, for $200 a piece, we can go to the race. We could drive down early on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't go, but it would have been an adventure.
I went as a kid back when they first built the track around 1958 and 9. It was really fun. Really fun. And those are real stock cars in those days. Those were, right off the shelf. Those weren't all these, things that they have now that are not really stock cars.
No, they have computerized.
Yeah. These were, and the fun race was the one on Saturday. They did a 250 race, and just about anybody could
enter.
Yeah, it was.
Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
It's Fat Tuesday.
It sure is.
Mardi Gras going on down in Nolens, where they've already had shootings. It's the number one. It's the murder capital of the United States now. Thank you to defunding the police, and thank you for all the woke and left Democrats.
Yeah, New Orleans.
Already had a fatal shooting down there, and everything else had to hold up. Had to hold up things. But I'm sure things will be fine today. Throwing the beads and all kind of good stuff.
Yes, I heard that Mardi Gras is quite the event.
Mm-hmm.
I've never been to Mardi Gras, but I have been to New Orleans, and it is a very fun town.
I've seen the pictures. Yeah, I love New Orleans, especially the French Quarter.
Oh yes.
But the loons that run that place now are just not until they clean that up. But it is once they get that straight and we get real Americans back in charge, it is some fun place.
Yes, it is, and the food gives Savannah a run for its money.
Oh boy, yes sirree. They have the finest. A place called Arno's is one of my favorite restaurants down there, and then there's also Brennan's, and these are the people that invented a Bananas Foster, dessert that is the dessert of a lifetime, and also some of that Cajun gumbo, shrimp remoulade, and the chefs down there are world famous. The late great Paul Prudhomme, who still has a great line of food products and spices that I use all the time. His salmon seasoning is something else. Don't let the name fool you. It's good for darn near. You put on ice cream. It's fantastic. So I highly recommend it, and great recipes that they have. Yeah, the French Quarter is something else. The rest of New Orleans, not so much, but I tell you, the French Quarter is lots and lots of fun. Beautiful down there.
Yes, very, very beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, happy Mardi Gras, and tomorrow, of course, being Ash Wednesday, as we go into the Easter season as well. And so lots of things to do and talk about today, including the fact that about 1,400 spots are available for 4-year-olds across our district schools here in Chatham County. And this is one of those lottery things where for these pre-K schools that they have the pre-K program around Georgia is getting prepared for the upcoming school year. So parents, you need to apply. Statewide, there's something like 70,000 spots, but here in Chatham County, there are about 1,400. Now, my problem with this is that all schools should be magnet schools. Let's just don't have magnet schools. Let's have all schools as magnet schools that have great quality programs with great quality teachers that teach kids actually something that's useful in life, that they can get an education, as well as find out the real history of America, as well as finding out what the 2 + 2 equals 4 is not racist, and math isn't racist. Okay, and because you don't want those people building your cars, even if they are electric. You don't want them building your bridges or airplanes or fixing your airplanes. So let's start teaching them real skills, and if you want to apply to any of those schools, now is the time to do it.
Yes, Friday is the deadline, so make sure that you get your applications in. That is the 24th. So like Bill said, it is a lottery, 1,400 spots. And And I'm sure we have more than 1,400 4-year-olds in Chatham County.
So win the lottery, as we say.
Yes, I would love to do that in many aspects.
Uh-huh.
And we have the Murdaugh trial still going on. I believe that the defense has the prosecution has rested, I believe.
Yeah. The defense goes to the stand today as we get ready for this. What's the fourth or fifth week of the Murdaugh trial that's going on? Kind of hard to keep up.
Yes.
But right up the road in Walterboro, South Carolina. So let's see how things are going there.
A big day in the double murder trial of Alec Murdaugh. After 20 days of testimony, the state has rested its case. The former South Carolina attorney is accused of killing his wife and son at the family's hunting estate in 2021.
Now, before resting this afternoon, prosecutors presented some new vehicle and cell phone data of Murdaugh's whereabouts the night of the murders. Taggart Houck has been following this. He joins us in studio to break it all down. Tag.
Yeah, good evening to you both. Much of the data really from General Motors indicates where and when Murdaugh's Chevy Suburban was that night.
It does on the top here.
Jurors saw a timeline of events the night of the murders consisting of cell phone data and data from General Motors on Murdaugh's Chevy Suburban acquired last week.
And during the course of this trial, they contacted and said, oh, wait, we found something.
That is correct.
It shows Murdaugh gets back from work around 6:42 p.m. At 9:07, Murdaugh leaves the hunting property and heads to his mom's. He drives 42 miles per hour past where Maggie's phone is later found off the side of the road and speeds up at one point, reaching 74 miles per hour. By 9:22, he arrives at his mom's house and leaves by 9:43, indicating he was only there for 21 minutes, not the 30 to 40 he said. At 10 o'clock, he's back at Moselle. 10:05, he arrives at the kennels. Only seconds later, at 10:06, he dials 911.
What, if anything, in his statements to law enforcement did the defendant say about what he did when he arrived at the scene?
The defendant stated that he went and checked on Paul and Maggie to check the bodies.
And from the moment the Suburban arrived at the kennels, how long did it take for that 911 call to be made?
Less than 20 seconds.
Prosecutors also revealed a text from Paul to his dad about a month before the murders.
May 6, 2021 at 10:52:13 a.m.
And what does it say?
It says, I am still in EB because when you get here, we need to talk. Mom found several bags of pills in your computer bag.
And web searches from Maggie later that month.
And on May 26, 2021 at 11:21 p.m., Maggie searched green gel pill P30.
And as you mentioned, prosecutors have rested their case. The defense is really going to pick up with its case on Tuesday. Monday will not have court. That is because Monday is President's Day. Nigel.
So there you are from upstate South Carolina.
Yes.
So the defense begins its case today. Now here's a story that's not getting a lot of attention. It may get national attention sooner or later because the murder trial case of Melanie Steele has been pushed back again here in Chatham County. 5 men charged in connection with her disappearance and death. They were expected to stand trial that was beginning today, as a matter of fact. But Chatham County Superior Court Judge John Morse has rescheduled the trial for the end of May. He confirmed those details in a phone call with WTOC, the CBS affiliate here, and said this is the 7th time that the trial has been delayed. The 7th time. And during a hearing in the case earlier this month, the public defender reminded the judge that she had personal conflict with the trial date set for today because of a scheduled vacation. But it's something she said she had notified the court about last year. New trial date has been set for May the 30th. So what is taking so long to get justice for this beautiful young girl who was murdered here in Chatham County? And Brittany, I don't understand it. We've got this DA that's about as woke as you can possibly get. Another one of those Soros DAs, and a very, very low morale, shall we say, in that office. DAs have been exiting right and left.
Well, and recently lost her assistant DA as well.
Yeah.
But the thing is so what happens in these trials too, Bill, that people don't really think about is when something is rescheduled 7 times, how much time do you think has passed? And witnesses, what does that do to eyewitnesses?
Exactly.
How, things change over time. People's memory starts to fade as well. So it's very, it's unfortunate, and it impacts the victims that never get justice, or the potential for these people to get off because of it. Also consider how many of these murder trials have been pled down. Is that something we're going to see in this case, because it has been delayed 7 times, which, okay, if you knew that there was a conflict last year, why did we not switch whoever was doing the public defense on this? I mean, there are plenty of things that they probably could have done, but delaying this trial again until May, that seems like a really extensive vacation for someone.
Yeah, sure it is. So the Chatham County investigators discovered this girl's body in March of 2020. Let you know how far back this goes. We're talking 3 years now. And 6 months, they say, after she was kidnapped. The 5 people have been charged in connection with her death. And the judge had this ruling, said that they to allow FBI evidence in front of the jury. So we'll see how that goes. But now we're going to have to wait another almost 3 months.
So, I mean, that's the other thing. How long for this trial to actually wrap up? So, I mean, maybe by the end of 2024 or 2023, we'll see a verdict in this case play out. But that's if it doesn't get delayed again.
Yeah. So it could be delayed for the 8th time. And once again, if you have eyewitness testimony or whatever it is, as Brittany mentioned, memory starts to lag after a while.
Well, and your brain can also start to put different pieces in there that maybe didn't exist before.
Exactly.
So there's something that you always say. Yeah. What is it? You talked to an FBI guy when you were in college.
Oh, that was F. Lee Bailey.
Okay.
When he was at the zenith of his career, he came to talk to us, and the title of his talk was "The Defense Never Rests." He later released a book of the same title, and just fascinating about how he said that eyewitness testimony is positively the worst. It's circumstantial evidence. If there's enough of it, one way or the other is enough to convict or acquit a victim or someone who has been charged with a crime. And the standard explanation or definition they give for circumstantial evidence is, he said, you came in tonight and everything, there was no rain, it was all dry. You walk outside and the sidewalks and all the shrubbery are wet all over, not just in spots. And you will assume that it's rained. You haven't heard it rain, you haven't seen it rain, but all this water all over the place is enough to convince you that it had rained. That's what we mean with circumstantial evidence. He said eyewitness testimony is the worst, because usually trials don't happen for 2-3 years, maybe even 5 years, and by that time memories have faded, and you begin to and if you ever witness something, he said usually you don't witness it right away. Your attention is drawn to it as it's happening. But he said the mind has this fallacious built-in machine that sort of backs up the videotape in your brain and furnishes you with the details that you thought you saw. He said he's seen people that get on the witness stand and make the most incredible statements that you think, this just isn't possible. And he said, so if you get the circumstantial evidence, and now, of course, this is years before we had talked about all the forensic things, the DNA stuff and all of the forensic stuff that they do now that they have at a crime scene. Because when you watch CSI, wherever, CSI Pembroke or wherever it is, yeah. You can see that you wonder how anybody gets away with anything, except most DAs and most counties don't have the budget that the television program has. So, and there's that DNA domino effect, where people are expecting all this forensic evidence in these trials, Brittany, and they come up and they don't have it. We don't have that kind of budget to have these people investigating all of this stuff all the time. And it just comes down to a budget crunch more than anything else. There's sometimes the evidence has been destroyed by people. The classic case, of course, is the Moscow, Idaho situation, where that crime wasn't reported for hours after it happened. Other people came in. How much evidence was destroyed by people walking in and out of the house and doing different stuff. And one girl who finally didn't tell her story for 6 weeks about that she did see somebody. Mm-hmm. I mean, just you're like, what? Why didn't you say something then? Why didn't you call 911 when it happened? But that's where we are.
Yep, and we know where our president is. He is in Ukraine.
He certainly is. Yes, sir. There's nothing too good for Ukraine. There's nothing militarily that they need that they don't. We're not going to furnish them. There's nothing. And their pensions. Yeah. Meanwhile, in East Palestine, Ohio, they're wondering if they're going to be able to live for another week or two. We'll talk about that and more coming up next.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
At Get Real America, we'd like to thank the Southeast Georgia Republican Assembly for all their efforts on making a difference in our communities.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
What she says goes and redouble.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Here it is, Fat Tuesday. Glad you're aboard.
Yes, I wish we were down at Mardi Gras today.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Maybe if the crime rate wasn't so high.
Yeah, well, behind bulletproof glass anyway.
Yes.
that would be nice. And
Yes.
Maybe have the 1st Ranger Battalion along with us.
Yes,
just
absolutely.
in case.
Absolutely.
There you go. Never mind that. And the problem of whether or not we should separate military from civilian.
Yes.
We want the 1st Ranger Battalion with us.
Yes, I'm on board with that.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that Biden has some security down in Ukraine with him. He,
Joe Biden's got security?
yeah, he does. He
Over there.
does. And he had a surprise visit yesterday to Kiev, Ukraine, which was, it's always interesting to me. But, the sirens were going off as he walked in.
Uh-huh.
And CNN was actually on the ground as well. So,
Oh, sure. Of course they were.
yeah, quite interesting. I would love to see Biden walking into Ukraine with the sirens going off.
Yeah, let's take a look as he is visiting there. Can't go to East Palestine, but he can go there.
I've been here for the past 5 days. I have not heard any explosions. I have not heard any air sirens until about half an hour ago, right when President Biden was in the center of Kyiv, as Clarissa was just mentioning.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. Was that the basic photo op?
Yes. It's,
Hadn't heard anything for 5 days that he's been there, but all of a sudden the president gets there and suddenly we have these air raid sirens or warning sirens of incoming or something like along those lines. Yeah, that seems a little suspicious to me.
Just a little. I also think it's interesting how much time Zelensky has made for popular pop culture events here in the United States as well.
And giving away the farm. Once again, $500 million has been promised. $500 million. And people in East Palestine can't get a dime. FEMA says that they can't make it there because it doesn't qualify. What does qualify? Should it have rained at the same time? Should a hurricane or a tornado have come through at the same time as the train jumped the track? That would have helped.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but I also think that it's important to look at how much money is being spent over there, and the fact that there has been no explanation as to what the plan is here. It's basically, let's just continue to give them money until...
Well, when he said they were going to start financing their pensions, I didn't think even he was that stupid, and that we were going to be that generous. That's not our job, and that's not exactly what you call military support by any stretch of the imagination. And by the way, it's military support at the expense of our forces, because our ammunition supplies are way down, and it's going to take. So I saw the other day, we need to have another Manhattan Project to start getting us ramped up again with ammunition, because they said it's going to take 5 years to get these missiles rebuilt. We're out of Stinger missiles, we're out of this, we're out of that, or we're very low, critically low in supplies. And why in the world aren't we doing something to ramp those up? We could put people back to work and get good old American jobs by remaking some of these missiles, whether it's cruise missiles, Stinger missiles, Sidewinders, whatever it is that we need, so we can shoot down more balloons.
Well, yeah, exactly, Bill. Well, and what do you think the American people will say when they're given choices of, do we want to be prepared militarily, or do we want to continue to fund what's going on in Ukraine? I think that those things need to be broken down for the American people of what the sacrifice is for us to continue to fund this. And there is no end in sight. There is no plan to get out of this. I mean, they just want to keep funneling money over there. And, I've seen a lot of people that are upset about this. And
you thought we would learn something from Vietnam, and then if not, if you would have learned something from Afghanistan, in the war that we had on terror, that there has to be some sort of an end game somewhere. You get in, you get out.
Yep, exactly.
You don't go into these quagmires like we were in Nam, and then of course now Afghanistan. But 20 years where we were there, with the expense of treasure and personnel, is just disgusting.
Well, and, Marjorie Taylor, like her or not, she is very vocal about a lot of things, and I don't know how you feel about this, Bill, but yesterday she did tweet, "Impeach Biden or give us a national divorce. We don't pay taxes to fund foreign countries' wars who aren't even NATO allies. Mm-hmm. We aren't sending our sons and daughters to die for foreign borders and foreign democracy. America is broke, criminals and cartels reign, and you're a fool." That was in regards to President Joe Biden. And
write it up, I'll sign it. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene, way to go.
Yeah, well, I think that she brings up a very good point. It's going to be the middle class people that suffer the most financially, and also they're the ones sending their sons and daughters overseas. Mm-hmm. And I heard someone yesterday talking about if they put the draft back into play, he's like, over my dead body will they be taking my son and daughter for something like this? Mm-hmm. Like, it's not going to happen. And so it just makes you think about what could be the outcome of, number one, us not even having the discussion. This should have been brought before Congress before we keep funding. But I do know that there are at least 20 Republicans that are now saying we cannot continue to give money to Ukraine. Like, all the money needs to stop. And I believe Matt Gaetz is leading the charge on that.
Yeah, let's see.
Well, we don't have a video of that, but
good. Okay.
No, this has just happened yesterday, and so they're putting some things together. I believe 20 people are on board with that right now.
it cannot continue to go on as it is. We are not bottomless pits, and this is not our backyard. And we're we're not only a proxy war with Russia, we're now in a war of words, in a Cold War too with China, because Anthony Blinken and winking and nod was over there, and he said that he had stern words for President Xi. I'm sure that he did. I don't have any, but he said, don't supply Russia with weapons. That's a definite no-no. Don't supply Russia with weapons, and the Chinese have already said, stick your nose out of this. You're not supposed to. This isn't, we're in negotiations with Russia over other things, but weapons aren't part of it, and we'll do what we damn well please, which they always do.
Yeah, well, and I think Zelensky put out yesterday that if China allies with Russia, then we are going to be in World War III. And I mean, we're getting too close for my comfort, Bill, on some of the escalation that we've seen happen, and the fact that again, there is no end in sight. It is
dangerously close, and we should have learned our lesson a long time ago that you don't get involved in these quagmires, and that's exactly where we are. And furnishing all these weapons to Ukraine. How would you feel if somebody was fighting us over here? If we had been attacked, let's say we were attacked by Canada, okay, and Canada was running and we were running out of weapons, and Canada was coming over here, they were running out of weapons, and all of a sudden a foreign country, Mexico or China, or so, starts furnishing Canada with all these weapons. Would you say that we're not at war with Canada? We're not at war, or we're not at war with China, or we're not at war with Mexico? If they're furnishing the weapons that the Canadians will be using?
I would not say that. I would say we are definitely at war with these people as well. And
so how does Putin look at this?
He looks at it as the United States are at war with Russia.
He's canceled. He's already canceled a meeting in this arms race. He's suspended participation in the New START nuclear treaty talks with the U.S. And that's and by the way, this is interesting that our State Department and our military let Putin know that Biden was going to be in Kyiv.
They did.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Just, probably is, don't, that this is, it wouldn't be a good idea maybe to attack while he's there. So, at least he was given a heads up that the president was going to be there. Nobody else knew about it, but Putin did.
Well, the interesting thing is as much as you want to talk about the previous president, this stuff did not happen.
No.
And
because he was a firm talker, and he told President Xi, he told Rootin' Tootin' Putin, don't go into Ukraine, don't think about this, because he said, if you start a war there, I'm going to nuke the Kremlin. Now, in his heart of hearts, Putin probably said, I really don't think he's going to do that. But there was that 1 or 2% thing in the back of his mind said, I've seen what this guy's done, and he means what he says.
Well,
when he took out Soleimani with those rockets and everything, everybody said that was going to start World War III. Remember?
And moving the embassy.
Yeah, if we moved the embassy from Tel Aviv in Israel to Jerusalem, that was going to start World War III. So just listen to what the media says and actually watch what happens, just to let you know of how far left these things are.
Yeah.
And how incorrect they are all the time, and yet these people get paid an enormous amount of money to lie to you on a constant basis, and their prime directive is simply to give you the news. That's their job. Their job is not to give you what their thinking is or what planet they want to live on in some utopian world someplace.
No, it's not, Bill. And this is probably one of the most frustrating situations because I don't think that we have done the right thing. I feel bad for the people of Ukraine. However, I do think that this is a result of our weak administration here. Mm-hmm. So how unfortunate it is, but I do think that he has to answer to the American people, and he has chosen not to.
Yeah, and let me make one more thing. As another friend of mine was saying, and I agree, that I don't like these presidential visits to disaster areas. It causes too much. You've got so much security and everything else.
Yep.
They have to suspend all the work that they're doing
Yep.
just to protect the president. Forget that. Send all the aid and comfort that you possibly can. Get Samaritan's Purse in there and all these other people that it can be on the ground and doing stuff, and then send a video message or something. Come back after it's over, and say, we're sorry, or call people on the phone. Do a Zoom call with them. Say, I'm really, really sorry about this, and we're sending all the help and we possibly can. That's what we ought to be doing. All right, coming up next, a very successful Savannah Book Festival, the 16th annual, took place over the weekend, and a couple of wonderful authors who co-author these international New York Times bestsellers going to be with us next. Tom Clavin and Bob Urey. On the way.
At Get Real America, we want to promote your business to our conservative audience.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
At Get Real America, we want to make sure that the real story gets out, and you can help us as a sponsor or as an advertiser to make sure that that word does get out to the community.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was, and that they had come to us because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
It's Mardi Gras.
It sure is.
And so go out and celebrate. Tomorrow, Ash Wednesday, as we go into the Easter season for us Christians. And this past weekend, we had beautiful weather for the 16th annual Savannah Book Festival. This has become one of the book festivals best in the world. It is highly recommended. Publishers try to get their people here. We have had, you name a top author, and most of them have been here for this festival, whether it's Stephen King, James Patterson, Ivana Vukovic, whatever her name is. She was here too. And the list goes on and on of these great authors that have been here, David Baldacci, you name it. And once again, a great event, great turnout on Saturday to come out and meet the authors, hear their lectures. And as we were talking with Douglas Brinkley yesterday, Doug is a presidential historian, and his new book is out. going about the history of the environmental movement, and he gave a great lecture on a Saturday. Bob Drury, which is his first trip here to the Savannah Book Festival, and Tom Clavin second, had a nice chat with him about their book and about the festival itself right after their lecture Saturday morning.
All right. Pleasure to be talking with Bob Drury and Tom Clavin. Their new book is out. Gentlemen, welcome back. And Tom, welcome back. I know
Thank you.
This is a little debut for you.
Yes, it is, Bill, and what a wonderful town. What a wonderful town. Everyone's so nice, hospitable. It couldn't be better.
Yeah. What's your impressions of when you come to an event like this? People seem to be very fascinated by what you have to say and how the ideas came about.
Well, I think Tom said it best during our talk. I am, how do I put this? I'm a fan of the big man genre of military history. Mm-hmm. You hand me a book about William Tecumseh Sherman or Peter the Great or Patton, Genghis Khan, I'll eat it up. But that's not what we write. We write about ordinary men rising to extraordinary circumstances in combat, and I think that's what drew us both to the genre we write. It just never ceases to amaze me that anyone from a bar bouncer to a kid who was in the choir in high school the year before to a tap dancer, Tony Ruggieri, can suddenly transform themselves into war fighters that fight for this country and protects our freedom.
Yeah. And Tom, your second trip here, how do you compare it to the last time and stuff?
It seems like the festival's gotten bigger, it's evolved. They definitely have everything down, synchronized very well. What hasn't changed at all is the extent of the courtesy from the organizers to the volunteers, to the people who attend, who seem to be glad to be here and glad that they're obviously book lovers. So that hasn't changed. The courtesy is something that I think is really in abundance here, and it's nice to come down to experience that.
Great collaboration, and you talk about something near and dear to our hearts, since this is the home of the 1st Ranger Battalion.
Right.
So we have a lot of military connections galore.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. And I think that makes the festival special. I think it could be one of the reasons why they wanted us to be here, because you don't have a lot of mainstream nonfiction military history. There's a lot of military history books that get published, but to have a mainstream that something that can be read by a lot of different people is what the Last Hill is all about. So I think that's one reason why the Savannah Book Festival had an interest.
And Bob, because these people are such heroic figures that we don't know about, and you get
What incredible stories, Bill.
Yeah.
You and I were talking just, during that segment about how this is the kind of stuff that we should be encouraging people to read, the inspiring things that I'm trying to think of exactly how you quoted it to me during that clip, but that there are no extraordinary men, only ordinary men doing extraordinary things in extraordinary circumstances.
That was Admiral Bill Halsey's thing. That got the nickname Bull Halsey. He didn't like the nickname, by the way.
Oh, really?
And it came about by accident. The war correspondent was typing up his story, and he was in a hurry for a deadline, and he put a U instead of an I in there, Bull Halsey, and it got published, and the name stuck.
Oh.
Because he was a fighter. And that was but that was his expression, was that there are no extraordinary men. There are simply ordinary men who do extraordinary things under extraordinary circumstances. And to Admiral Halsey's credit, also his son was missing in action in one of the sea battles, and his aides came to him and said, "Sir, we're going to send out a special search party for your kid." He said, "No, you're not. You're not going to. My son does not deserve anything special just because I'm the head honcho here. That you will send out. You will search for him like you would search for any other sailor." And by the way, they found him. He was fine.
That is good news, and what a hard thing to say as a father, right?
Yeah. Well, absolutely. and so hats off to him. And one of my favorite scenes from the original movie, the really good movie they did about the attack on Pearl Harbor, came out in 1971 or two. Tora Tora Tora. This piece of crap that they made with later was more interested. Yeah, with Pearl Harbor was the Disney production was more interested in special effects and showing all these wounded people rather than they were telling the story. Tora 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 tells the real story from both the Japanese and the American perspective. And one of the things that Halsey was out. It shows him on the deck of his aircraft carrier, and they're doing practice bombing runs. And one of the pilots is not doing well at all, and Halsey looks around at one of his aides, and he says, "You tell Lieutenant so and so that he couldn't hit a bull in the backside with a bass fiddle." It's a great line. But I highly recommend Tora 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 to you, not that Pearl Harbor movie that came out 20, 30 years later. So that's the good one.
Okay, I am taking that down. I always get great recommendations from Bill.
There you go. That's what we're here for.
Yes, absolutely.
So, and I'm sorry we didn't get to the rest of that clip with Bob and Tom, but Bob Drury went out and was telling us about how he went out and talked to the Rangers. He met with the 1st Ranger Battalion here and talked to them, did a Q&A with them, and I asked him, I said, but do they know their own history? He said, yeah, these guys are really smart. They know about the history, and these guys are the new generation that he sees in our military. For the most part, are as good as the World War II generation that sacrificed so much. And when you read the book The Last Hill, I mean, this is stuff that you will not believe of what men can do. Especially when you read the citations of Medal of Honor winners, you can't believe that one person can actually do this. And what they can accomplish, but it is remarkable the things that they do, and we do need to get these stories out. Kids need to have heroes,
yes.
And these stories need to be told, and they need to be retold, and they need to be drilled into the kids. By the time they get out of elementary school, the Constitution ought to be coming out of their ears.
I agree with you, Bill. We need to get there, and as quickly as possible.
And coming up next,
we're going to be talking about what's going on with James O'Keefe and Project Veritas. I think that this is something that is very interesting considering the recent story that they just released.
Yeah, we'll find out next. Stick around.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934. With personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
And welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Mardi Gras today, Ash Wednesday tomorrow, and Project Veritas at the top of the list here.
So when you think of Project Veritas, Bill, what do you think of?
Think of getting to the truth and getting people to actually, when they don't think that they're on camera, actually reveal what's actually happening.
Whose face do you see when you think of Project Veritas?
The head honcho.
James O'Keefe.
James O'Keefe.
So this is really interesting because he was let go as CEO of Project Veritas.
Remember they tried that at Apple? Worked out real well for him, didn't it?
Yeah, well, the thing about James O'Keefe is that, number one, he built this, and he actually, there's a 45-minute video that was released, and he actually talks a lot about, because he has gone through a lot of things in his life, and the FBI has come after him multiple times, and, you know,
I was told, and I'm paraphrasing.
Okay, that was quick.
By asking for X dollars right now, you will prevent 10X dollars down the road. That advice ran contrary to everything I knew to be true in my 13 years of fundraising. But that conflict was even more fundamental, and essentially boiled down to this. And my vision, I'm going to paraphrase Howard Rourke, the architect. Quote, I don't build in order to have donors. I have donors in order to build. That's what I believed, and I felt like we had a conflict of visions. We measure our success in terms of what we produce, not just in terms of our wallets. That was a pretty fundamental conflict, I felt. The day prior, I had informed him in front of his colleagues that if he wasn't willing to follow my lead, he'd be shown the door. I tried to deal with it privately, but I was unsuccessful, and the disagreement boiled over publicly in a staff meeting. The next day, this individual refused to resign, so I fired him. Later that same day, that's Thursday, February 2nd, a few days after the 50 million viewed Pfizer videos, I was informed by a different officer of Project Veritas that he would go to the board in a few hours from that moment and have an emergency vote to restructure this company. Receiving an agenda in my email while I was sitting on an airplane tarmac with the doors closing, the meeting was scheduled for the moment that my plane landed in Nashville. It became clear to me in that moment I would be removed from my position at Project Veritas by the time I landed at my destination. So, our mission continues on. I'm not done. The mission will perhaps take on a new name, and it may be no longer called Veritas, Project Veritas. I'll need a bunch of people around me, and I'll make sure you know how to find me. So with that, I'm going to collect my things. I'm going to load them into my car. And I hope to see some of you soon.
Maybe he could start a new group called Up Yours.
Something, Bill. Yeah. But I think the timing of this is just super interesting, especially since the Pfizer thing had come out. This was, I believe, the CFO that he's talking about in this that refused to go along with what he was doing. And now the board has come out with some allegations against James O'Keefe that he took too many black cars to events and that he was hosting too many parties for Veritas. And they said that they used it for his private well-being and not the well-being of Veritas, which I think is very interesting because Veritas is actually known for having these dance parties. And it added a lot of dimension to Veritas instead of it just being this gotcha news source that was filming people privately. It really became a movement. And that's because of James O'Keefe. And I know that a lot of donors are going after Project Veritas now, and they're saying, we gave money because of James O'Keefe. He is no longer there. We want our money back.
Yeah, and good on him. And they'll follow him wherever he goes and whatever he decides to form next. But this is just pathetic.
Well, you also have to think, what are we going into? We're going into election season for 2024. And there's a lot that Project Veritas was probably working on that they are like, you know what, if we could, because they had suspended him for 180 days originally. And
the board?
Yes, that he couldn't do anything for 180 days, and it would be without compensation. So, I mean, 6 months on the sidelines, you know what, it doesn't make a lot of sense. This is going to be very interesting to see how it unfolds. There is a 7-hour board meeting that they filmed. He said he would not release it, but that they were welcome to ask the board for it, but that he would not be releasing it, but he encouraged people to go and get that video. which I think will be interesting to see what's on it. The notes coming out of the meeting are definitely on James O'Keefe's side. He is, from what I can see, telling the truth. So it'll be interesting.
Indeed. In fact, that's what veritas means, by the way. It's Latin for truth. So, yeah, he has done yeoman service. What he has done to expose these people, and notice that the media suddenly doesn't like undercover secret camera investigations. It was okay when they were doing it, and when they do it, that's fine.
When it fits their narrative, right?
Yeah, right. When it fits their narrative, but when the truth comes out, when he actually exposes all of these charlatans and cretins on the left, suddenly that's bad, and that we need to protect the public from this sort of thing. Yeah.
Yes.
We need to protect the public from the people he's going after.
Yeah, well, and, Bill, I don't know if you've heard about any of the independent news. There's been a lot of battles within the conservative independent news media in the last several months. Louder with Crowder, Stephen Crowder, he has a huge podcast. He left the Blaze, and there was a huge argument with him and the Daily Wire and their contracts and how they're taking advantage of people. And, I mean, they're creating a whole, war within the conservative atmosphere, and I don't think it's healthy, Bill. I think that if we're going at each other, I mean, what do we need the other side for?
No, for real. So, but good on James O'Keefe, and keep up the good work, and we'll follow you wherever you go.
Yep, and I think we'll probably see him, I would say probably in 30 days he'll have something going.
Something along those
yes,
lines,
and I think he will have a lot of employees that follow him because of who he is. So
for sure.
Very good things. Speaking of people that are making a lot of friends, Ron DeSantis, he's very good at making friends.
Yeah, he sure is.
And we have him talking about, when people are doing nothing, you hear nothing. But when people are doing something, you definitely get a lot of feedback.
That's when you know you're doing a good job, when you start getting criticized from the left. And he had a few good words for the mayor of New York City, among other things.
Some of those attacks.
Well, Lisa, if you're an office holder and you're just sitting there twiddling your thumbs and not getting anything done, no one ever says anything. You can kind of just fly under the radar. But when you're out there leading, when you're out there setting the agenda, not just for Florida, but really for the nation, which we've done over the last few years, people see that, and the people that don't necessarily like that are going to respond accordingly. But I can just tell you, if people are not firing at me, then I must not be doing my job. And so I view it really as positive feedback.
Well, listen.
Yesterday, wasn't he? Ron DeSantis. I know a lot of people are rooting for him for 2024. It'll be interesting to see what happens on the Republican side for 2024. We have people coming out left and right. But he makes some good points there. I think that, it's interesting when you hear nothing about a politician, it's because they're probably doing nothing. If they're doing something, they're creating some waves, and it turns out a lot of politicians and the news media don't like it when you start doing things.
No, especially when you start doing the right things, and they will. I love the way they obfuscate the issue, and once again lie, and they get paid millions of dollars to lie to you every night. And now 24/7 on some of these news channels. But but for the example, when he said that he was going to ban this new curriculum for colleges that was about Black history, and they said he was banning. He wasn't banning it at all. He said 80% of this stuff is good. Teach that. When you get to the end of this course and you see the 20% where they're teaching the critical race theory and the Black Lives Matter crap, then he said all bets are off.
Yep.
Teach Black history, and why don't we just have teach history? But nevertheless, since we're going to segregate it, teach Black history and don't have all the other crap. But we hear from the Communist News Network and from BSDNC and the rest of those Confederates. We hear from he is trying to ban. And let's don't forget Whoopi Cushion. He is trying to prevent Black history from being taught, and this is so racist. It's nothing of the kind. He said, just cut out that. In fact, the people who put the curriculum together said, yeah, you're right, we'll take that out and reintroduce the course. So even the people who came up with the course have agreed with the governor and have agreed to go back and edit it and put just the black history, warts and all, back in place. And yet we still hear from the media. I heard it from one of the liberal talk show hosts just the other day. Richard, I can't think of his last name right offhand, but he's one of these Fox News contributors because they, like to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. He's saying, Governor DeSantis has banned the teaching of black history in colleges. No, he hasn't. And quit lying to us. And corporate America, quit paying these people all this money to lie to us. Rachel Madcow disease, just so much a $23 million contract she just signed.
Yep.
And was she there now 2 days a week?
Yep.
Something along those lines. Gee whiz, nice money if you can make it.
Well, but it also makes you wonder why they pulled her off. I mean, and we also saw that Don Lemon, he's in a little bit of hot water as well. So
he certainly is over the remarks he made about Nikki Haley, and Whoopi Goldberg joins that same crowd as well.
But did not get in trouble
on The View. No, of course not, because to her everybody's a racist except Hitler. So you can whatever you think. Whoopi Cushion, once again, please don't watch The View, because otherwise your IQ will drop by 10 points per episode. And once again, it's just amazing to me that the most dour, sour women on the planet that they have on that program are named Joy, Whoopi, and Sunny.
Oh, you couldn't pick better names for The View.
And as we wrap it up, by the way, there's a group that is urging, 28 groups have urged the Biden administration to not to be supporting the women's sport or women's using men in women's sports. This unlawful Title IX regulation that they're about to come up with, because now they're going to redefine Title IX.
They need to quit redefining.
Where's the National Organization of Whack Jobs on this?
I don't know. The women's groups sure have been silent on this whole thing.
Yeah, sure have.
And,
where are the environmentalists going to East Palestine? What's in Ohio? And then just right down the road from East Palestine, we had an explosion at a metal factory yesterday.
Yep, in Bedford, Ohio, which is about 72 miles from
East Palestine.
So quite interesting stuff going on.
How interesting is it? Well, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
We'll be back tomorrow for the Ash Wednesday edition of Get Real America. We will see you then.
Thanks for tuning in. See you tomorrow.